Welcome to the Dr. Joe Show. We got a special treat for you today. We got Josh Pembleton, the owner of Bravo-6 Nutrition, where we are filming today. So we're really excited to introduce you to Josh. So I guess we should just get started. Josh, tell us a little bit about yourself and how the store came to be.
All right. So about 2 years ago, my wife and I started the plans for Bravo-6. That was also during COVID. Had issues with permits, getting construction, and so it took a while to get going. Before that, back up a little bit, work out daily at the gym, 4th Avenue gym right here, and before that, 4th Avenue gym at the other location. And I always wanted a protein shake when I'm done working out, and I was buying protein shakes out of the fridge. They were like $5, and I would go to the gym, and before I leave, I would stop by the fridge and get this little carton thing filled with fillers and all these other bad things that are for you, not good for you. And so I came up with this process to start asking others, like, hey, why don't you start a protein shake place, nutrition place, however you want to do it. I asked the owner of the gym, hey, let's do a 10 by 10 and you can, make protein shakes. I think you would crush it. And we could all have protein shakes after we're done working out. And after a lot of no's and a lot of misfortune, my wife and I decided to do it ourselves. Couldn't find someone to do it, so we did it ourselves. And then the direction was, I don't want to just do protein shakes. Let's do nutrition as well. And so what we have here today at Bravo-6 Nutrition, we've been open for about 6 months now. I think we developed a decent product for people to come in and get their nutritional needs, whether it's simply workout supplements or their wellness needs. And also, we have what I think is a pretty awesome smoothie bar for protein shakes and for other stuff. My background is prior military. Spent a total of 17 years in before I exited the military due to medical reasons. A lot of bangs and booms, as we spoke a little bit about. And so therefore, we needed a lot of these nutritional needs to keep us going. And as we get older, we need to have supplement implementation. And so that, again, that's where the store kind of came from, is needed a lot more supplements in our life and wanted protein shakes. And again, with this store, wanted to give back to my old community. I was as our logo here. That's a Special Forces logo. I basically took out the ribbon, which you would see in the SF crest, and added a 45-pound plate. It's that simple. And our other logo is a pineapple grenade. And the reason we developed that one is we are military and we make protein shakes and supplements. So pineapple grenade. And on the walls, as we see, we represent each department of the military. And in the countertops, we have expended rounds that were all shot by either me or a real good friend of mine. Just trying to develop a cool place for people to kind of, for one, walk in the doors and kind of be in awe, because it's very different for Yuma. Not just Yuma, I think it's very different for
anywhere. Yeah.
For anywhere, for a nutritional store, for anything. And so my wife and I are pretty proud of what this has come, and we're just trying to expand. Eventually, what we want to do in the somewhat near future is develop our own product line with Bravo-6 Nutrition, with about everything you see on the shelves. So that's the direction of Bravo-6 Nutrition. This brick and mortar location is actually for us to do a deep dive into the ingredients and learn exactly what people's needs are, so we can start developing our own stuff that hopefully is much better and much more competitive. Mm-hmm. So
become a nutraceutical.
Yeah,
you're going to do clinical trials. We do clinical trials.
Yeah.
Interesting. The problem with supplements, from my personal experiences, have been you don't know what works, and there's so many. Unless you're just like doing a clinical trial on yourself, most people stack them, so they don't know what's actually giving them the benefit, right? And that's where you would need someone like Dr. Joe. Hey, what do you think about this? But even Dr. Joe would just be in theory. You don't know how it's going to work for yourself unless you just take it and start trying it for a month.
And,
But
yeah, sorry.
most people go crazy and they'll just stack like 5 things at once, and then they don't know which one's working, which one's not working, and then it's like a waste of money too.
100%. And you also have to take, as you can, inform us more, but you have to take things like L-carnitine and stuff in order for the absorption, or, as you've said on other podcasts, you have to take some form of glucose after you work out in order for absorption. If you're not getting the proper absorption in, then none of that stuff's going to stick to you. And then you're just excreting that product out, and you're wasting your money on, as you said, 5 different products that are going in there, but a third of it's going in and 2/3 of it's going right back out.
Yeah.
So,
What do you think about that, doctor? Like, what would be, I guess, the no BS most important stack for people, let's say, in their 40s?
In their 40s. Well, I guess it depends on where they're starting, what's their background, and what's the state of their health. Because you have to start somewhere. You can't go from doing nothing to exercising every single day, because you won't have the energy to do it and you'll break your body. So you have to get what's going into the body clarified and optimized first, and then you can start adding in the workouts.
Do the supplements matter if you're eating like crap?
You could say yes and no. I guess it depends on how crappy or how mediocre you're eating.
So I'll break it down for our clients / customers, and I'll break it down into a thirds basis. So basically, if you're working out, that's 1/3, right? So the next 1/3 would be your nutrition, and the next 1/3 would be your sleep. If you're not doing one of those thirds properly, the other 2 or however much is sacrificing heavily. If you're not sleeping, you're not getting your recovery. If you're not eating, you're not getting your recovery. If you're not working out, well, you're doing the project wrong. So.
And sleep is a really huge part of medicine, because a lot of people have sleep apnea. A lot of people have a family history of anatomical based sleep apnea, where just their larynx is not right. And even a little bit of weight, and they get sleep apnea, their testosterone tanks, they gain all this weight, and they focus on the weight before focusing on their sleep. So sleep is tremendous.
So those 3 pillars that Josh mentioned, I guess integrated between all of them would be supplementation.
Absolutely. If you're lacking sleep, we have 2 products in the store. We have one called GB&T, which goes back to my old background, which is Green Beret nap time. As a Green Beret, we used to go to lunch, and then after lunch, you get your food coma, and you'd be like, "Hey guys, I'll see you in an hour." GB&T. So it's a little slogan back in my old community, and a good supplement company, which is Alpha Elite Performance, developed this product called GB&T. Named owner's Travis Wilson, who was a former Green Beret. So I laughed when I saw that. We have another one called, I believe it's Rack Out, which is another sleep product. What I do is I put it in like a coffee cup, and I'll heat it up for like 30 seconds, and I'll sip on it. I won't chug it. And then, a lot of times I do exactly what you're not supposed to do, is I'll go in the bed, and I'll go like on my phone, and that's the last thing you're supposed to do. But the stuff works so good that like literally 15 minutes later, I'm like trying to find a place to put my phone as I'm literally crashing, So the products really work. Again, if you mentioned, testosterone levels going down. When you increase testosterone, what else do you increase? You increase your estrogen, right? So if you're increasing your estrogen as a male, that's a definite no-no. So then you need to take an estrogen blocker, which will then lean you out because you're limiting the estrogen that's going into your system. There's always ways to combat our lifestyles or problems that we have. And again, that's why the store, we have so many different supplements to combat, because everybody's different. As a doctor, you can give the scientific data that supports this is why you need to do that. But your body is built very different than my body. Yes, the science will take you so far, but how much is the person working out? How much is the person doing this and this? Where the supplementation, that's where it really comes into play. But you have to know what to take, or at least be led down a path. Otherwise, like you're not helping yourself.
Well, that's why I do weight loss for a lot of patients. Nobody gets the same plan from me. I've never given the same plan to anybody because I have to know exactly what the patient's doing. I have to know how they're sleeping, how much water they drink, what their work schedule is, how their palate is. You know, you got to play with it. It's an art.
Yeah, you mentioned water. I mean, how much of us don't drink enough water? About everybody?
I don't think I have thirst receptors anymore. I mean, I don't remember the last time I was thirsty. I just get dull thinking. So I have to be regimented.
I'm buying that jug later.
Yeah.
But like you literally need something to carry around with you to remind you, hey, I better drink this. You know, when you know a few years ago, you know, I'm not the smartest guy, so I think I drink water, it bloats me. You know, which it actually does the opposite. It flushes your system. You know, when you drink water, it flushes your system and it makes you in a healthier state because you're flushing out the detoxes. You're flushing out whatever you need to flush out, and you're excreting whatever that needs to be excreted. And so drinking water is extremely important, and that is like literally one of the simplest things you can tell someone that's free. Doesn't cost you anything.
Yeah.
So,
of course.
So you're clearly passionate about this, wanting to go down the rabbit hole of eventually developing your own product. What have you seen so far that makes you think, okay, this is like maybe the right direction that we do want to go? There's a need here. Are you locally focused, or is this going to be national?
So it definitely e-commerce. So everything we currently have on the shelves is someone else's product. We're a wholesaler for other companies.
Right.
And that's great for those other companies. But because of that, we can't have a website. We can't sell online because we're then set to different standards. And most of these companies will say, hey, you can't sell our product online because we believe that they have their different theories, you know. If we develop our own product, then we can compete e-commerce, which is the goal, which you can say globally, let's just say nationally, with everything we have on the shelves. Now, the products that we have on the shelves are because we believe in those products. We won't buy anything that's from Amazon, GNC, or Walmart.
Why?
The reason that's great. It's great why you asked that. But the reason being is they start making them in these such large bins during their pharmaceutical process that they don't actually know how much of each product is in those products, right? So if you make it in such a large bin, you're doing your mixing, you know, it's going to start saying like matrix, proprietary blend, or some type of other blend. And what that's signifying is we don't actually know what's in here.
And they're not held to those standards, right?
Their standards are totally different.
Do you ever buy those gas station pills, like the fake Viagra stuff? All right, you get unlucky with one of those, you end up in the ER.
Oh yeah.
Like there's stories of this.
Priapism is very bad. I mean, that's 2 needles in the shaft, and that person may not get erections again. It's catastrophic sometimes.
Yeah, so you're literally not knowing what you're buying because it's not, the supplement industry's not that regulated as far as what goes in the bottle and what amounts.
It is, but it isn't. In the SARM development, the FDA, let's just say the pharmaceutical industry has almost partnered with the FDA to make sure that a lot of these peptides are no longer going to be on the market. The FDA has banned them starting in November.
Yeah.
Because pharmaceutical industry is not making money.
Anything smaller than 20 chains is considered a peptide, and anything above it, so now there's a race for like 20 chains or greater, because now you can get an IP on it, investigational product. 20 chains or less, consider a peptide, and highly more regulated than the others.
So you can do peptides that are like basically simulate like growth hormone, right? Use your pituitary, goes to the pituitary gland, and pituitary gland will then produce more growth hormone internally. A lot of those peptides are now going to be banned, which those are great for patients or people who work out or whatever. But the pharmaceutical industry, they have a lot more money, and they basically got with the FDA and said, yeah, let's put a kibosh to that.
Kick the ladder after we climbed it.
What do we do?
Well, there's ways around it, of course. You could, instead of You can go towards the research side, the R&D side,
The R&D
Nutraceuticals.
and then you can have products. But that's kind of scary. You're going down a rabbit hole that you don't know the consistency of a lot of the stuff.
Yeah.
During the research. Well, so now you're buying a product as a research product, and you're the researcher. You're doing research on yourself.
Yeah.
That's a scary rabbit hole.
Well, you know what? It's not any different than what's been going on recently. I mean, do we really care about informed consent?
Yeah, I mean, there was no informed consent given. I mean,
Yeah.
you're trying to find ways to get this banned, but I think they're more lenient now. I've been YouTube jail twice. One more time, I'm done. But it's not this channel.
No, we're just having a conversation.
But there is a serious conversation to be had around this idea of nutraceuticals. There are companies that are doing this. They go through the FDA. There's a pathway. There's a regulatory pathway to get your nutraceutical to put what you want on the label and have it be FDA approved. That's powerful, but it costs millions of dollars, and it disincentivizes most companies from even trying to start.
They don't have the capital
No,
to start that. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No, a lot of this stuff, I don't know about what's in the store, but a lot of these supplements are white labeled from somewhere else. They just throw their label on it.
So it's funny you say that. That may be the case somewhat, but we chose these brands, these companies, because we're a believer in these companies. And you know, there's a lot of other companies that sell a lot of other stuff, and eventually a lot of these companies end up in Walmart, right? Because they end up getting bigger and all this other stuff. We chose these companies because they're fairly small. They're not so small that they're not producing a product, but they're fairly small, and they know exactly what's going in their product. Like NutriBio, for instance. I believe they're the only company, and I may be slightly off, but I believe they're only nutrition company that develops their own products internally and does their own pharmaceuticals internally, where everyone else farms it out to other people. So in our shakes, because of that, that's all we use is NutriBio. So we know exactly what's going in the shakes, and we can then tell the customer this is exactly what's in the shake. So
What have you been particularly excited about, let's say, the last 6 months?
I think our leading two brands for something as simple as protein or just a supplement line for gym goers. The top two brands I think would be First Form and then Axe and Sledge. I'm excited because they've gotten large enough to where they can keep developing their products and keep developing new flavors and keep people interested in their mind in the game. So I'm excited about those two companies and see where they can go to. We have other companies that are smaller and they're still learning their ways, but I'm very deep in the weeds with the proteins and the pre-workouts and the workout supplements action. My wife is more towards the wellness side, to where she's continuing doing the research. As new stuff comes on the market, we may just order a sample and check it out. We ordered some greens the other day with a company called Flight. Hey, they're liquid greens. Greens are great. You take one shot of something, whether it's a powdered scoop or whether it's a liquid form, that's your entire vegetable needs of the day. Just one. And that could help customers and clients and patients drastically. You just took your entire vegetable needs, like the shake that I made for you this morning, which was a green bray.
Yeah, it's really
had
good.
one scoop of greens. You're done with vegetables for the day if you choose to be.
That's why it's filling me up. I mean, I just feel so full. I mean, it's so good, but I feel like it's going to take me a little while to finish it.
And you basically, it's a meal replacement.
That's amazing. Now, if you had something to say to the people trying to lose weight out there, if you could pare it down to like 1 to 3 things that you would tell them to focus on, what would you say?
This would be contradictive of other podcasts that you had.
That's okay.
Ozempic?
Yeah, well, that of course, yes. However, if you're trying to do it on a limited budget, and maybe supplementation, maybe not supplementation, I think you need to uptake your water for starters. I also think you need to eat something first thing in the morning. I'm talking about the minute you roll out of bed. If you're someone who works out. If you're not someone who works out and you have maybe some health conditions, that's a complete different path. But if you're someone who is turning a new leaf and just starting to get back into the gym and all this other stuff, eat something first thing. maybe have something on your nightstand to where you're literally rolling out of bed and throwing something down your throat. I have protein Pop-Tarts over here, which comes to mind, right? There's like, or something like the beef sticks that you like so much.
Yeah.
Sticks you like.
18 grams of protein.
Yeah.
You're literally eating something. Doesn't really, you're getting your protein in you. You're getting a couple other things that you need in you. And what that does is it kickstarts your metabolism, right? So you can go the fasting route, which ends up to like a calorie deficit, or you can go the opposite way and just continue eating throughout the day, which continues to keep your metabolism pumping. A lot of times what that does is by the time you hit 5 o'clock, you're full. Like you've eaten enough, to where you've eaten throughout the day, which is great. That means you don't have carbs sitting on you when it's time to go to bed, which leans you out. So the question was, what would you tell someone who is trying to lose some weight? I would say uptake your water and eat something first thing. Say you're getting out of bed at 6:30 in the morning. By 9 o'clock, you're starving. You're literally hungry. And the reason is because your body's like literally pushing this stuff out. Our bodies are machines, right? So as soon as you eat something, for me, it's going, hey, this dude just fed me, right? I need to get rid of this. But if I go the fasting route, it's like, hey, I haven't been fed in a while. I need to start storing things because I don't know when I'm going to get fed again. And you start storing in places you don't want to store. That's how I look at it. But if you're going the other route and you're eating something immediately and you're kickstarting your metabolism, you're going down this route, you're literally losing weight. I actually have trouble keeping weight on.
Wow.
Because it's constantly pumping.
I only started lifting like 2 months ago. I bought this thing for my house. Like I have the whole setup. That's the first thing I noticed. I get so hungry. Like I've been basically either doing squats or bench press. I keep it simple. Like I was going to ask you actually my next question. What do you define as working out?
So working out could be different for
like cardio, weights, a mixture.
So as in another podcast that you had, I thought you described it perfectly. Like cardio, what is cardio, right? Like to me, there's not a lot of need for cardio if you're lifting weights, and especially if you're keeping your intervals a little bit higher, you're continuing to burn. Is there still a need for cardio? Yes, for cardiovascular purposes. For other purposes, yes.
A little bit.
Yeah.
A little bit.
But working out could be slamming weights around, as you say. You're tearing your muscles up, you're tearing your muscles down, and then right after you work out, you're having protein implementation. Or you're also needing glucose implementation. You're also needing these other things in order to make you to a better state, right? But working out for someone who just started 2 months ago is very different than working out someone who started 10 years ago or 20 years ago. And honestly, your gains where you're going is going to happen a lot faster than where someone else is going, because you start getting in these routines, and you don't break the muscle down as much because you're doing literally the same workouts that you're used to doing because you're not changing it up.
So switch it up.
You have to switch it up.
Yeah.
So like squats, I've been doing squats one day, pull-ups, bench press, and I do like maybe 5 sets of 10 of each. I just try to add more weight like every month or so.
So yeah, always stick with a little bit higher reps, but at the same time, like when you start adding weight, always do a weight that you can do at least like 6 of.
6.
As we get older, listen, we're not, unless you're trying to be some kind of competitive,
Bodybuilder.
whatever, power lifter or whatnot, you're going to do a 1 rep max. What does 1 rep max lead to? Injury, right?
Yeah.
So as we get older, we're not I personally am not the spring chicken anymore. I won't pick up a weight unless I can hopefully do at least 6 of that weight.
I see.
But for someone like yourself, and the rest of us who have been working out a long time, you have to get the proper supplementation. You have to get glutamine and BCAAs and stuff after you get done working out, because that starts the recovery process. Otherwise, you're going to be super sore the next day and not want to get back to the gym.
Yeah. It's a mindset shift too, because I've been doing cardio. We have a Peloton. I've been running on the treadmill. Like I used to consider that working out. I would never touch weights in my life.
Yeah.
And this feels like cheating because I'm doing like maybe 5 sets of 10, struggling. Like on my last set, I can't do more than 6.
Yeah.
And then I'm done, but it's like 20 minutes. And running, bike, that's like 30, 45
Workout should not last more than an hour. I mean, an hour is crazy for a lifting workout.
Oh, an hour would be insane.
I mean, yeah.
Unless you're
40
resting a lot.
minutes or less.
So what's your typical routine? Is it 30 minutes? Are you in and out?
It all depends on what the agenda is for the day. If I have to just run in there's a lot of times where you have to just run in there and I'll get a half hour, 45 minutes in. If not, usually I take a lot of breaks. Working out is it's a stress relief for me. Mm-hmm. So that's my time where it's me and the weights, So sometimes it may be an hour and a half, but it shouldn't be. It's just I sometimes I move slower,
and that's okay. See, nobody gets the same plan.
Yeah.
Right.
Everything needs to change based on what you're doing.
But I will say this: everyone should always have goals. If you're not setting goals for yourself, or someone is setting goals for you, whether it's a doctor or a trainer or yourself, you should always have goals. Because if you don't have goals, you're just in the gym. You're not leading to something. You're not in a direction. So you need goals. Like, hey, next month I want to do, by the end of the month, say the 30th, I want to do 200 pounds on the bench press, and make it realistic, but make it something that's achievable, but make it something that's also difficult to do. Because if you're not doing that, your focus just isn't hard enough. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Your intent isn't totally there. You're just kind of like, okay, I got to do this because it's the right answer, not because I want to hit this goal.
As the saying goes, if you're aiming at nothing, you'll never miss.
Aim small, miss small.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's how my push-ups topped out at 138 in 2 minutes when I was in college, because I had
impressive.
a goal of at least 150, and at the time, I got up to 138, and then I think studies got too busy, and I just kind of fell out of it.
But you're going chest to ground, or?
Well, I mean, it was
just as far as the elbows.
It was just shoulder width apart, and then I had a distance indicator so I could hit my chest on something that was about fist size.
Okay.
So I was getting.
That's pretty impressive. That's more than. There's 120 seconds, so you're doing more than a push-up a second. And at some point in there, you die out into where you have to do some form of rest. Then your lactic acid picks up, and it makes you not want to do anymore. And you're trying to go through the gut check of finishing out the 2 minutes.
Yeah, that's when and I don't know what I was eating at that time. I think I was riding my bike. I think I was doing MMA stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I was doing a lot of training with my Sifu at the time, and his workouts were, it was like an hour and a half. That was just the warm-up, and you're just about dead. Okay, focus mids, So I think his workouts had something to do with me being able to do that. So shout out to Sifu, Richard Nogan. Okay, shall we transition over to the next?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's right here.
So 18 grams for the whole pack.
Yeah. And then it's 4 net carbs.
He came to our house.
So that's not bad at all. And it's sweetened with erythritol. So, okay. Not bad.
Now to our customers, explain how net carbs comes about, if you don't mind, from your doctor's perspective.
Net carbs, when I think of net carbs.
Because if you look at the back of this,
Goes
it'll
into,
say
how much digestion went into it. Is that
correct?
Yeah.
So you'll look at the different products and you'll read the back and you'll be like, wait a second, how come it says for carbs it says total carbs 23 grams and then it has your fiber and your total sugars.
Yeah.
Right. So if you subtract the fibers and the sugars, it gives you your net. Which for these are Pop-Tarts. These are extremely good. You put the microwave for 10 seconds, not in the wrapper because the wrapper's spoiled.
Right.
But it comes to 5 grams of net carbs.
Yeah.
So
like celery has negative net carbs. Yeah.
So like this is what comes to mind when I say when you get out of bed, you throw a Pop-Tart down, and it's scrumptious, tastes really good. In this one there is 1 gram of sugar in this entire thing. So it's not like it's definitely not high in sugar, and you're getting 20 grams of protein in that Pop-Tart. And then again, say you're getting out of bed at 6 or say 7 o'clock, a couple hours, 3 hours later, you're literally trying to find something to eat because you're so hungry because your body's kicked up metabolism and you're starving.
Man, when I started lifting, I was my appetite increased like I've never seen before.
We have new products coming in every day. So if you see holes in the shelves, it's because we have something coming. I believe it's coming this afternoon or if not tomorrow. We're constantly improving what we have for products. But basically we start off with protein, and protein, you can have your traditional whey protein, or for people that are still wanting the lean muscle but don't want to put the weight on, go with an isolate. You could have vegan, plant-based, depending on your diet, depending on the different directions you're trying to go. For nighttime purposes, we have casein protein. Some of the products are a mixture of whey protein and casein, but for casein, it takes 8 hours to absorb, I believe.
What's the difference between casein and whey?
So whey is, it's a lot thicker. Whey, it takes 3+ hours to absorb. Where isolate is probably 2 hours to absorb. And then casein, it basically, I would tell people to do that one at night, because what it does, it takes like 8 hours to absorb. So basically you're absorbing protein throughout the entire night.
And there's no carbs in there. There's minimal carbs.
There's minimal carbs in there.
So I guess if you do an evening workout, then it makes sense. But if you didn't work out in the evening, the carbs are going to work slightly against you.
Correct.
Okay.
So basically, we got our proteins, the different types of proteins as we just talked about. Again, traditionally, you start off with a whey. If your stomach can't handle it, whether you're lactose intolerant or something along the lines where it's just irritating your stomach, I would lead you to like a farm-fed or maybe an isolate that's a little leaner. That's plant-based.
This is really good. I mean, it's sweetened with monk fruit and stevia. And you got how many grams of protein? You got 20 grams per serving here. This is pretty good. And you got enzymes for absorption. That's pretty good.
And for the people who are trying to put a ton of weight on, we start going to basically the weight gain section. This is extreme mass. These are still the classic wheys, it's just in 5 pounds. But these ones tend to have a lot more carbs. This was actually Carbo Max. So basically you're adding just carbs to your diet.
I love this. Other ingredients, absolutely none.
Yeah.
That's a very confident company. I like that.
These two products are what we kind of talked about before. Basically, right after your workout, you're going to need to have that glucose implementation, right? So basically, ignition, it's basically it's for muscle growth, glucose levels, and recovery time. So basically, half a scoop possibly before your workout, a full scoop after your workout with your other proteins. And what it does is it helps for absorption. So when you take the sugar, take the glucose, it opens you up for absorption. So when you're taking the protein and anything else that you're taking, you're actually absorbing it in. And this is basically just the people who are a little more gym going and have a direction that they're really trying to lean towards.
So this is for the folks with goals.
Yeah, serious goals. Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of high school kids come in and get some of this supersized stuff because they're young. They want to play football. They got football season coming up, which they're kind of late to the game for that because it starts like now. They haven't matured yet, but they want to do what they can to add more calories to them in order to put some more weight on. This section here is our pre-workout and our post-workout. Basically, we have from pumps to pre-workouts. From here, 475 grams of caffeine. You're talking up there, right?
Oh, wow.
All the way down to non-stim. So basically, it goes in this section here, all the way down to our least stim. So basically, non-stim. So these are all our pre-workouts. What you do is you take this 15 to 30 minutes before a workout, and it gives you an extra want to go to the gym because you're adding nitric oxide or some kind of stimulant in order to get a better workout in the gym.
Wow.
Now, one of my favorite products in the store for people who are trying to do like muscle and endurance stuff is Pico 2. Are you familiar with Pico 2? So Pico 2 is 6 different variants of mushrooms that assist in muscle endurance. So in Yuma, we have a lot of Marines, and I would lead them towards the Pico 2 because they have to run the 3 mile for their PT test twice a year. So Pico 2 is a great supplement in order to assist in the muscle and endurance portion. And then for recovery and stuff, we have different, like actually working. during your workout, we have intra-blasts, some kind of intra-workouts. These are cool products because it's not just water that you're drinking. It gives you that little bit of push in between sets in order to get a little extra motivated and feel a little better for that next set, especially if you're pushing a lot of weight. And then we live in Yuma, so you need to stay hydrated. So we have different hydration stuff. And then we also start getting in here with all this other stuff. And this is where you come into play as a doctor, leading patients to make them to a healthier state, right? Mm-hmm. Or we have customers that come in and go, hey, I have this goal. So then, depending on what their goals are, depends on the rest of this stuff. So when it comes to wellness. But as we spoke here, you've been working out for 2 months or so. I highly recommend some form of glutamine. I would also recommend BCAAs, which is this thing here, this whole section here is BCAAs. BCAAs are branched chain amino acids, and they're going to help with the recovery.
Proline. This is a really important one. I think this one helps with connective tissue and collagen regeneration because this amino acid, if I'm not mistaken, it's a 5-membered ring, and it allows you to make those really tightly wound proteins. And this is one of the essential amino acids. I think there's not many sources of it either. Mm-hmm. I think like pork, cartilage, sunflower seeds, and seaweed. Those are the top ones. So proline. Yeah, I mean,
What about the beta alanine?
like you got to eat the gristles or just take some proline.
I've heard you mention beta alanine.
Yeah,
one of the.
Yeah, alanine is part of the Cori cycle. Mm-hmm. So when you start fasting, and again, we talked about fasting and kind of the dangers of it if you're trying to make gains. The Cori cycle is where your body breaks down your muscle and turns alanine into pyruvate, and pyruvate goes into glucose. And that's before you start to cut into your fat. So every time you fast, there's a window of the Cori cycle. So the alanine probably cuts the Cori cycle down. Probably.
What I like to tell customers is L-citrulline. This right here.
Oh yeah.
L-citrulline. This one right here is $21.99. There's 75 servings, and it's 2,000 grams per serving. L-citrulline is the #1 ingredient in pump, right? So basically, you're trying to get that good pump in the gym. L-citrulline being the #1 ingredient, what I would like to tell people is add this to your pre-workout, which is pre-workouts typically don't have that pump aspect because other companies want to sell the pump as well. You could add this to your pre-workout, and you're definitely going to have a better pump in the gym. And it's extremely cheap. It's $21.99 for 75 servings. It'll last you,
Is it related to NAC?
No, it's an amino acid, I think.
It's an amino acid, right?
Yeah.
But the same pathway as like nitric oxide.
I don't remember. I vaguely remember it. That's from biochem days.
Yeah. Because I know the L-arginine also.
But there's a lot of wellness companies that will inject that into people. Like they have these amino acid blends and they'll just go IV with them.
one of our favorites, L-tyrosine. Mm-hmm. So L-tyrosine is literally, if you have trouble pumping through your day, if you're tired in the mornings, if you're petering out at lunchtime, I recommend L-tyrosine to so many customers. It gives you energy. It gives you focus. It gives you, when you take it, you don't feel anything on it. You don't have a ton of, you don't have like a jittery feeling or anything like that. But 3 hours after you take it, you'll be like, wait a second, this is usually the time you really want like a coffee or some kind of pick-me-up. You'll be like, you don't need it, you know? And then you also realize like, holy smokes, I got a ton of stuff done already today. Because it just makes you work. Makes you stay hyper-focused, super focused, and get things done. So this product right here really should be in most everyone's. And it helps you lose weight too.
Tyrosine is also the precursor molecule for CoQ10. That's part of your raw materials to make that. So that makes sense.
For people that are trying to lose weight, we got a ton of weight loss products. This is probably one of our better ones. It's Synodrex. From your doctoral perspective, I'm sure you would probably look the other direction. However, we have customers all the time that come in, I want to lose weight. And one of the easy ways to lose weight is to take some type of weight loss thing. Is there better ways to do that? It depends on who's asking, right? So you can do the NAC thing and like the ALA and all this other supplementation, which is great for people who are willing to be more educated or more educated. But to your average person, they go, I want weight loss. I go to the weight loss section. I pick up a weight loss, and it makes me happy.
They just have to be concerned that if they use ephedra, they have a risk of pulmonary hypertension, which is catastrophic illness. So I guess jury's out on that one.
Take it with a grain of salt. L-carnitine. You love this.
Carnitine, yeah. Everybody trying to lose weight, I tell everybody to get on carnitine in the morning. It facilitates, it's referred to as, the fatty acid shuttle system for your mitochondria, right? And then you also said it facilitates just absorption of nutrients, and I didn't know that.
I look heavily on L-carnitine for the absorption process. So basically, if you take L-carnitine, it helps you absorb the other things that you're taking as well. So basically, you're actually getting that into your system. As we said earlier, you could be discreting it out. So it's a great product to help you have things stick to you and actually utilize what you're paying for.
Nice.
And then lastly, our wellness section. And this is some of the sleep stuff that I was talking about, the GBNT and the rack out. There's a ton of stuff that I think that you'll like here, Dr. Joe.
I'm so glad you got the NAC on the shelf, the CoQ10 and the ALA. I mean, I lean on CoQ10 and ALA. And folks, I'm not advertising one brand. We're talking about biochemistry here. So, so these are, when I tell you to get CoQ10, folks, I don't care what brand you get.
One thing that we really like about this is as we talked a little bit about it earlier, the greens. So these different forms of greens. One scoop of that stuff is your vegetable needs for the day. Done. And I highly like this Alpha Elite Performance, as I spoke earlier. I like the taste of it. You can literally sit on the couch over ice and drink it and forget that you're doing something healthy. And to me, that's a win. So, big believer in the greens. Obviously, you need your vitamin D, your B12, and other supplementation as personally.
Yeah, quercetin. I think Dr. Hazen would have a problem with that one. Quercetin's a whole other discussion because she's finding that if you take it artificially, then it can disrupt your microbiome. And I'm waiting on her study on that. I think she said she was doing a study on that.
But during COVID, this was important.
Well, yeah. So there was a lot of research about quercetin specifically because it facilitates zinc transport, and
So that's the
it's
stack
super
right there.
important. So I mean,
Zinc right next to it is.
so if this is your only choice of quercetin, then it's fine. You just have to have it planned for your microbiome afterward.
How do you feel about doing detox stuff? Detox pills, that kind of stuff?
So I'm friends with a very accomplished naturopath in West Virginia, and he emphasizes if you're gonna detox, you have to give some nutrition at the same time, because if you're detoxing off of these toxic heavy metals and whatnot, and you're not giving yourself that complete nutrition, it's gonna make it worse. So when he detoxes people, he's simultaneously giving them, comprehensive minerals, because from the naturopathic side, it's basically all about minerals. People get mineral deficient.
Mm-hmm.
So detoxing is fine as long as you know what you're doing. But there are people that detox and they can get themselves in big trouble.
So here we got daily cleanse. We got the traditional detox for cleanse and detox. We got a liver detox.
Aloe vera psyllium. Okay. Milk thistle. There's a drug called Legalon SIL. It's a derivative of milk thistle. It's the antidote for Amanita poisoning. But yeah, I mean, nothing jumps out at me as dangerous. Ginger. The U.S. Air Force has done the most studies on ginger. Last I heard.
Ginger's amazing.
Ginger is probably.
Dr. Hazen would be happy. Look at all this bifidobacterium.
Bifidobacterium in here?
That's for gut health.
Oh, see, there you go.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you do this after your quercetin, then I guess you're
Dr. Hazen, you gotta come to Yuma, okay?
Dr.
Get out of
Hazen.
Malibu.
Yeah, you gotta get over here. This is great.
So lion's mate for focus, mental focus,
I've tried
actual
that.
intelligence. Yeah.
Yeah. I grew some lion's mane at the house. It was.
I feel like
it
we
was
can do
annoying.
a whole
It was,
podcast on
very
mushrooms.
tedious.
Right. Mushrooms are I think we're finding out that mushrooms can do a lot more for you.
Yeah.
In recent.
Yeah. There's
Could be in
some
the
clinical
future, like a whole hour on just mushrooms.
Oh boy. Yeah, we have to do that. That's gonna
a
be
deep
a
dive.
multi-part series
Yeah.
right there.
You want to
Just-
move to the SARMs or?
Yeah, for the, I mean, here, yeah, we can spend an hour just on this cabinet.
We don't have
But
We can come back another time.
this, for the locals, all right, for the locals in Yuma, you gotta come here, okay? Links are underneath, but, so you've got SARMs, you've got DIM, estrogen blocker, that's the one I take, and then you've got some peptide stuff, nasal spray. What was the thought process behind curating this?
So this cabinet is again to get people to their goals, depending what those goals are. If you want to gain weight, if you want to gain muscle, if you want to lose weight. If you want to lose weight, and one of the best products I think we have in the entire store is this 4-in-1. It's a complete cutter, leans you out. It's got
4-in-1.
Yeah, of course, I don't have my glasses on. We are getting older. It's got Osterine. It's got S4. It's got S23. S4 is a weight loss. S23 is a And I get it. And actually, because everybody's mind blown. What we have here is a description on every single thing we have SARM related in the cabinet.
See, this is why if you're local, you gotta come here. Not every place has like a store like this. So.
Correct. So again, we have simple RAD 140. Is basically testosterone without the needle. MK677, which is a growth hormone product. Now remember, these are research products. So
R&D, that means, folks, that there is no informed consent. This is research and development. People that use this, they're experimenting on themselves, right?
correct.
Essentially.
Correct.
Yeah.
Have to put that disclaimer in. Anyways, bottom line is we have a breakdown of what each one of these does here. So this Cardarine, which this one happens to be Cardarine, that's for muscle and endurance. I'm a big believer in it. I think it helps hugely in your muscle and endurance. And you take it once a day, you put it under your tongue, let it sit there for like 10 seconds, and you swash it around and you swallow it. Doesn't taste bad. It's not like you need a chaser to go right behind it. Doesn't taste terrible. There's a bunch of different kinds. One thing you have to be concerned with is this Stenabolic, for instance. If you look here, it has a half-life of 4 hours, which I don't recommend Stenabolic for your average person, because that means you have to take it every 4 hours. And you're taking 1 mil a day, so that means you're taking a quarter of that, or 4 times a day. But it's an extreme cutter.
Increases the number of mitochondria.
And do the mitochondria stay there?
Helps turn glucose to an energy source. The muscle will use this robust fuel to power you through your workout. So it seems like it's like a pre-workout.
It's
Fat.
It's a pre-workout. It's a fat loss. It's a cutter.
So that's interesting. Like, because mitochondria are not easy to come by.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
SARMs
So
stands for.
do they stay around, or do they disappear?
Well, they're going to disappear after you stop taking the product,
Yeah.
which is why you need to do a PCT with the majority of this stuff. PCT being post-psychotherapy, with Novadex or some other stuff. Also, as you're increasing your testosterone, as we spoke about before, you mentioned the DIM.
You gotta block it.
You're going to have to block it, because anytime as a male you're increasing your testosterone, you're also increasing your estrogen.
Aromatase inhibitor.
This reminds me. There was some research being done on autologous mitochondrial therapy for newborns born with terminal cardiac structural problems, and they would take some of the baby's fat out. They would isolate the mitochondria, and then they would get a catheter right into the coronaries or right into the heart somewhere, and they would just squirt it in there, and the heart would suck up the mitochondria. And there was some recovery, and some of the kids survived when they weren't expected to survive.
been watching some of that stuff. And,
So I just wonder if there's a long-term positive effect with the mitochondria, because once you create more mitochondria, I don't see why they would just go away. You know what I mean? Because those are
supposed to be integrated.
those are organelles. You
Organelle.
get them from your mom. You get no mitochondria from your dad. They all come from your mom. So genetics is never equal. You know. So that's just,
have you seen some of the research?
Makes me-
some of the studies and some of the practices they're doing in like South America using the placenta and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah, and in Europe too. I mean,
Yeah.
Well, what does the lioness do after she gives birth? She eats her placenta.
Yeah.
And what do they do in Chinese medicine? They take the placenta, they cure it with cayenne and lemon and ginger, and they dessicate it, and then women can take it either for postpartum depression or they can take it for menopause. That's how long that stuff keeps.
So if you're local,
This is ancient stuff.
if you're local, you got to come Bravo-6. Last thing, we'll do the shake, the drink bar. Some of the items.
So starting at the bottom here, let me say this at first. You could always make your own, and here's everything that can go in a shake. It's a lot easier for customers to come in and pick off the right side of the menu because these are ones that we have developed that have been proven. All right, so starting at the bottom here with Tropical Bomb, strawberry, mango, banana. Every shake that we make here comes with 25 grams of protein. If you want more than one scoop, it's going to be 50 grams for 2 scoops. The heavy hitter does come with 2 scoops. Heavy hitter is a choice of milk, being almond milk, skim milk, whole milk, or coconut milk. Then two scoops of chocolate protein, peanut butter, banana, cocoa powder, glutamine, creatine, and BCAAs. That's a ton of stuff that goes in one shake. But that's your recovery when you just did a killer workout in the gym, and you're getting that killer recovery coming in order to combat all the breakdown of the muscles that you did while in the gym. What I will say this about our shakes is it's all fresh fruit. Most places you go to use purees, and purees are completely full of sugars, and so much that that my wife gets headaches from them, and they're actually really terrible, right? So we use all fresh fruit shipped in from Phoenix, it makes the shake super thick, where it's not running and all that other stuff. So I mean, you guys have had our shakes. I think they're pretty good. I don't think they're pretty good. I usually let the customer taste it and then have them tell us afterwards. We have one that's a sweet tooth. It's a choice of milk, chocolate protein, Oreos, and peanut butter. We have the option to use an ice cream milk, which isn't the healthiest. But again, if you just got done working out, you need the glucose, you need the sugar, right?
So textual carbs.
We've patented the phrase makes Dairy Queen look like the JBT. Like if it was later that day, I would have gave at least one of those out to you guys just to taste it. It is literally that good. You taste it and you like look at it because you're confused because it's that good. You're like, this is healthy, you know. Anyways, so our shakes.
Right.
Yeah, wakey, I'm ready to run through walls after that. So you guys come check it out if you're local and if you're watching from non-Yuma location. Hopefully you learned a thing or two, and stay tuned for more because we'll do a part 2 and part 3 definitely.
Thanks for tuning into the Dr. Joe, folks. We'll see you very soon.